Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys smash the like button on this video. You're gonna like it because this is gonna be a fiery Imran. This is gonna be Imran that's gonna go in. Now, my good friend Michael Parsons, we don't always agree. South Central West had a go at me saying that because Imran is a Canelo fanboy, he said that Canelo Alvarez v Triple G3 is a bigger fight than Spence v Crawford. And apparently, I only said that because I'm a fanboy of Canelo. What I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to break down how the boxing business works, right? People that call me a fanboy are generally people that are up in their feelings about a certain fighter. If you think Spence and Crawford do bigger numbers than Canelo v Golovkin 3, then you either are a dummy that don't know anything about boxing, right? Or you push a certain narrative. I'll tell you why. Canelo Alvarez fought Caleb Plant, right? Did 700,000 pay-per-view buys, right? Nobody knows Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant is an unknown, right? He's literally an unknown fighter. Spence fought Sean Porter. Did not even half the pay-per-view buys that the Canelo Plant fight did. About 300,000 pay-per-view buys. Spence is supposed to be such a big star. His highest pay-per-view numbers is about 320,000, if that. That's Spence's highest pay-per-view numbers, right? I don't even know what Canelo's highest pay-per-view numbers is because his numbers are ridiculously high all the time. I believe when Canelo fought Liam Smith, I think he did like 500,000 pay-per-view buys. When he fought Golovkin the first time, I'm not sure, that might have even done over 1 million pay-per-view buys. So we obviously know that Canelo Alvarez and Spence and Crawford, they're not good enough to tie his shoelaces when it comes to pay-per-view buys. You know, Spence and Crawford combined, their pay-per-view buys probably doesn't get close to one of Canelo Alvarez's pay-per-view. That's how much of a bigger star Canelo is. And that's just the truth. Whether you guys like it because you want to push a certain narrative, Canelo is a way bigger star. Way bigger star. He's richer than Spence and Crawford. He's a bigger star, more well-known, got more followers on social media. Whichever way you look at it, Canelo is leaps and years ahead of Spence and Crawford, whether you like it or not. And I don't even think whether you're pushing any narrative, you can actually deny what I'm saying there. Are you going to say Spence and Crawford have got more money than Canelo? Are you going to say that they've done more pay-per-view buys in their career than Canelo? Right? The answer is no. Let me put it this way. The two pay-per-view fights that Canelo had with Triple G, I guarantee you Spence and Crawford, you add all their pay-per-view numbers up together, don't come close to that, just one of those pay-per-view buys, the first or second one. Right? So the point is Spence and Crawford is a better fight than Canelo Golovkin 3. Yes, because most of us think that Canelo's going to win the third trilogy fight. So, which fight would I rather see? Of course, I'd rather see Spence v Crawford. But don't be telling me that I'm a fanboy because I'm telling you that Spence and Crawford, like, you're the fanboy and you don't understand boxing. Because if you're, like, I don't bet, but I'm willing to bet that Spence and Crawford ain't going to do bigger numbers than Canelo Golovkin 3. It's just not. How? It won't even do more numbers than Canelo v Bivol, which did 600,000 pay-per-view buys. See, you guys get brainwashed by people like Leonard Ellaby because that's what you want to believe. You honestly think, Leonard Ellaby said it did 120,000 pay-per-view buys, it did 300. You honestly believe that? You honestly think that Leonard Ellaby saying that it did 120, you think Canelo Alvarez is going to do 120,000 pay-per-view buys? This is like, I don't understand that. Some people come and leave comments and they don't even think what we're saying. I can break down why Canelo v Golovkin's a bigger fight. Canelo Plant, Spence Crawford ain't gonna even do bigger numbers than Canelo Plant. And that wasn't, like, Plant wasn't unknown. Golovkin's a superstar. Golovkin's bigger than Crawford and Spence, really, if we're honest. You know, because Spence, is not like Spence has done pay-per-view numbers with nobodies. The reason why Spence has done pay-per-view numbers is because he fought Mikey Garcia. It's because he fought, what's his name? What's that guy's name? Sean Porter. You know, these are all credible names. These are all big names. These ain't nobodies. You know, Canelo fought Plant and did 700,000 people. Nobody knows Plant. Who knows Plant? Canelo fought Bivol, did 600. Who knows Bivol? Canelo fought Liam Smith, did 600,000 people. Who knows Liam Smith? You know, the point I'm trying to make is Canelo and Golovkin did, I think, over 1 million pay-per-view buys. You know, the first time. Now, is there as much interest this time? Probably not, because people think that Canelo's going to win. The first time, there was a lot of intrigue, like there is for Spence and Crawford. Spence and Crawford is a better fight than Canelo Golovkin. There's no doubt. Spence and Crawford is a better fight. 100%. I'm not denying that. Spence and Crawford is a much better fight. And it may at best touch 500,000. At best. At best. Fury, Wilder, two heavyweights. And these two are dull. Spence and Crawford are dull in personality compared to Fury and Wilder. That did 700,000 pay-per-view buys. Think about it. Two gigantic heavyweights, right? Heavyweights, charisma, everything. He's charismatic, he's loud. That did 700,000 pay-per-view buys. Canelo Plant did 700,000 pay-per-view buys. In comparison, and what's, like, no disrespect, Canelo and Plant's personality compared to Fury and Wilder's is nothing. It's not even, can't even compare. But it's because of Canelo's leverage, Canelo's name, Canelo's fan base. This is what Jake Paul, I guarantee you, Jake Paul v Tommy Fury is a bigger fight than Crawford, numbers-wise. Of course, I'd rather watch Spence Crawford. I wanted to watch that fight for years. But do you understand what I mean when I say bigger fight? You think that Spence and Crawford is going to do bigger numbers. If you honestly think that, I'm sorry, then you've got to be a dummy. Because there's no way. How do people, when people buy pay-per-view, when you talk about the hardcore fans, Michael, you say all of us boxing fans. You know us boxing fans. You know us hardcore boxing fans. You know how many of us there are? My friends don't even know who Spence and Crawford are. But you see, people like me and you, right? We live in a bubble because boxing means so much to us. We forget there's a world out there that don't even know who the hell. You know, there's people out there that don't even know who Floyd Mayweather is. Do you know that? There's people out there that don't even know who Floyd Mayweather is. But because of the fact we look at those people and think, how the hell can you not know who Floyd Mayweather is? Now you imagine Floyd Mayweather and think about Spence and Crawford. Floyd Mayweather is a celebrity, like I'm talking worldwide celebrity, right? Look how many followers that man has on Instagram. He's a huge star. But you walk on the street, right? I bet you'll find people that have no interest in boxing, might not know who he is. There won't be as many, but you go on the street and ask Spence and Crawford. In my country, in the UK, literally nobody knows who they are. Nobody. And I can guarantee you in America, there's not many people. Like you, one of you, South Central West, was saying everybody in America knows. How come they have 700,000 followers on Instagram then? Amir Khan has 1.5 million. He's from a country that has... from a country that has 70 million population. America has a 350 million population. Why does Amir Khan have more followers than Spence and Crawford combined? Spence and Crawford have 200,000 followers on Twitter. Amir Khan has 2.2 million on Twitter. Well, why? If they're that big stars, why is their social media numbers so poor? If they're that big, think about that. Think about what I'm saying, right? Amir Khan has 2.2 million Twitter followers. Spence and Crawford have 200,000. Come on. Let's get real about this. You telling me those people are going to do more numbers than someone like Canelo, who has like 10 million Instagram followers and probably 2 million Twitter followers. You're telling me those guys that have a small platform, don't have a huge platform, are going to do huge pay-per-view numbers? That's nonsense. And before some of you guys say, well, Ryan Garcia has 7 million, that don't mean he's not. I'm talking about the elite guys, the real top guys. You know, you look at guys like Canelo, guys like Anthony Joshua, you know, they have a huge platform and their pay-per-view numbers generally do good. Tyson Fury, Wilder, you know, they're up there. You know, the point I'm trying to make is these guys don't have an audience apart from hardcore boxing fans. Spence and Crawford do not cross over to casual fans. The only time you do huge pay-per-view numbers is when you cross over to casual fans. Spence and Crawford aren't big like that. Like I said, right, if I haven't even gone, I don't know much about basketball. You guys live in America, right? I can guarantee you LeBron James has huge amount of, I don't know, I've not checked LeBron James's Instagram account. I can guarantee you he has huge. Why? Because he's a superstar. Right? He has a huge... If LeBron James came into a boxing ring and did an exhibition, I guarantee you 1 million pay-per-view buys. Jake Paul comes into a boxing ring because they have a huge fan base. Spence and Crawford don't. They have 700,000. What's your... If Spence... Look, Mike Tyson has 20 million followers on Instagram. Floyd Mayweather has 20 million followers on Instagram. They were boxers. Right? So why do Spence and Crawford have 700,000? You're telling me guys that have 700,000 followers on social media are going to do 1 million pay-per-view buy? It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. They're not known. They're only known to the boxing hardcore fans like me and you. Like I said, if I was to ask my mates, they don't know who Spence and Crawford are. They're not into boxing. They don't know who Spence and Crawford are. But yet they know who Tyson Fury is. They know who Amir Khan is. They know who Floyd Mayweather is. Why? Because those type of people have a crossover appeal. They're celebrities. They're not just boxers. These are just good boxers. Really good boxers. Elite boxers. But they don't have an audience. They don't have a name like that. That doesn't mean Spence can do numbers because he's a good top quality fighter and he's been promoted well by the PBC. But he's never going to cross over like that. He's never going to get big because he hasn't got that kind of personality. He hasn't got that kind of personality. You're either Floyd Mayweather, where you're able to promote yourself and you're a promotional genius, right? Don't get me wrong, Floyd was also a great fighter as well. But he had something about him that not every... Ali had something about him. These two don't have anything about them like that. They're not very charismatic and they don't have a huge fan base either. And when I mean huge fan base, I mean Canelo Alvarez isn't charismatic. He just has a huge Mexican fan base. Neither Spence and Crawford have that. That's why they don't sell. Canelo's not exactly charismatic. Or, you know, people say, oh, well, Crawford's not charismatic. Why doesn't he sell? Because Crawford doesn't have to be like Floyd Mayweather. He doesn't have to be loud like that. Why does he have to be like that? He just doesn't have the fan base. It's one thing you guys getting upset about, oh, well, why isn't Canelo, why is Crawford and Spence, not a bigger fight? But then why don't you support them? You need to buy their pay-per-view buys. You need to buy their pay-per-view fights. But even if you do, you make up a small number of hardcore boxing fans. Hardly look at these channels, right? Look at these channels, boxing channels, right? What's the highest boxing channel out there? Fight Up TV with 1 million subscribers? Compare that to like some of the social media icons and, you know, some of the big, like Jake Paul, and compare that to that. It's nothing. Because there's a small number. And remember, channels like mine that just talk about boxing, how many subscribers does the most guy have? Who has the most? Probably 140,000, 200,000? That's a small subscriber base, not a huge subscriber base. It might look to you, I have about 16.8K subscribers. That's a small channel. Even a 200,000 subscriber channel is a small channel. It's not a big channel compared to the big social media stars. Do you know what I mean? And this is what you got to understand. Boxing isn't a big sport like that. And unless you've got something like some unbelievable persona like Mike Tyson, or you've got a huge fan base, you've got a country behind you, like Canelo Alvarez, you're not going to do serious pay-per-view numbers. That's not taking anything away from Spence and Crawford. Both are brilliant fighters. And I want to see that fight more than I want to see Canelo and Golovkin 3. But the point is, the truth is the truth. Canelo Golovkin is a bigger fight because it's going to do bigger numbers. I'm not saying it's a better fight. I'm saying it's a bigger fight financially. Understand what I'm saying? You guys wouldn't bet with me that Spence and Crawford does bigger numbers because you know deep down that Spence and Crawford won't do bigger numbers. Spence and Crawford won't do bigger numbers than Canelo and Golovkin. And you know that. But you see, some of you unfortunately find it difficult to accept that. Because you wanna live in your own world where you wanna say no, I don't want to give Canelo any credit. I don't want to give, but you don't even look at the facts that Canelo's last fight, I mean, did 600,000 pay-per-view buys. The fight before that did 700,000 pay-per-view buys. That was with nobodies. That was with guys that are hardly, who knows Bivol, who knows Plant. He did 700,000 pay-per-view buys. Spence fought Porter, who's a well-known name in America compared to Plant, right? And he did 300,000. What does that tell about Spence's pulling power? It tells that Spence isn't a star. Don't get brainwashed by Leonard Ellaby. What is that? That man's pushing agendas most of the time. The fact is that he also said that Plant would beat Canelo. And he was saying that, I swear he was saying, now he's saying, well, Canelo can't beat Bill. Like, the guy's off his head. Like, he thinks whatever he says is right when he's wrong. He said Plant would beat Canelo. He was wrong because Canelo smoked him. So the point I'm trying to make is sometimes don't get caught up in feelings. Boxing's about facts. If you can prove to me that Spence and Crawford have done bigger numbers than Canelo Alvarez, right? If you can prove to me that when Canelo fought Liam Smith, that Errol Spence has bigger a pay-per-view fight that's bigger than Canelo v Liam Smith. I'm not even going to go into his big pay-per-view fights with Mayweather and Golovkin and that. I'm not even going to go into that. But has Spence even done a bigger pay-per-view a fight that's on pay-per-view numbers done bigger than Canelo and Smith? I doubt it. So, come on, guys. I understand you guys are fans of Spence and Crawford and you want to see your own people from your own background do well. I would love that. I hope Spence and Crawford does 2 million pay-per-view buys. But I'm not an idiot. I'm realistic. I understand the market. I understand the pay-per-view numbers that have been going. Kovalev and Andre Ward apparently did 100,000 pay-per-view buys. Kovalev v. Andre Ward. What a fight that was. Crawford and Spence aren't charismatic. You're not talking about two personalities that are going to set the world on fire. Jake Paul and Tommy Fury's a bigger number. Is it probably a bigger fight than Golovkin and Canelo, let alone Crawford Spence, Jake Paul v Tommy Fury? Guys, you've got to be realistic. You got to be realistic. Like, I'm not saying these things because I'm a Canelo fan or I dislike Spence and Crawford. No, I'm saying it because I understand boxing. And I've been watching boxing for a long time. And I understand that pay-per-view numbers don't get generated by majority of the hardcore boxing fans. We buy the pay-per-views. But when I look at Jake Paul do over 1 million pay-per-view buys in one of his pay-per-views, fighting who? Because Jake Paul has an audience. Spence and Crawford don't have that audience. Spence and Crawford aren't the biggest earners in boxing. Why? There's a reason for that. How much would Spence and Crawford get paid to fight each other? Probably 20 million each. Maybe 20 million, maybe 30 million, right? Anthony Joshua makes way more than that. Canelo Alvarez makes way more than that. Canelo Alvarez is getting how much to fight Golovkin? How much was he being offered to fight Benavidez? How much was he being offered to fight Charlo? Do you know what I mean? There's a reason why Canelo's getting offered X and Spence is making X and Crawford is making X, because their commercial value isn't as much as Canelo Alvarez's. They know that Canelo's going to do bigger numbers. So now you're putting two gigantic stars in Canelo and Golovkin together, irrespective of whether they're both, people see it as a one-sided fight. You're putting two juggernauts together. you know, what do you expect? But that's my take on that. I will do another video. Someone wanted me to break down the pound for pound list. I can't remember which one of you it was, but you wanted me to do give my take on the pound for pound list. I'm going to give you my take on that as well, and what I think of the pound for pound list. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.